Lesson 5 and our final lesson in short story is going to take a look at conflict. And there's no story without conflict. Well, there's no story worth reading without conflict. You need conflict to create excitement and to make the plot move forward. So we're going to take a look at 6 of the main types of literary conflict. There are a few other possibilities, but these are the ones that we're going to focus on. So we'll start with the 4 main ones, which are self, character, society, and nature. These are the ones we see most often. So first we have character versus self, and this is seen in Shakespeare's Hamlet, where Hamlet has a moral dilemma. He's wondering if he's going crazy. He's trying to help out his dead father who he sees as a ghost. Basically anything where the character is trying to decide with themselves between good and bad and all that kinds of stuff. Next, we have character versus character. So this is when 2 characters in the text create the conflict between each other. So maybe they're enemies. And a good example of this is seen in The Cask of Amontillado, a short story by Edgar Allan Poe, where maybe at the end someone ends up dead because there are 2 characters pinned against each other. Next, we look at character versus nature, as seen in Homer's The Odyssey. So this is where nature and the natural world gets in the way. So Odysseus just wants to return home to his family, but alas, there's storms, there's different islands, and different trials and tribulations that have to do with nature and the natural world. We also take a look at character versus society. Okay, so when you hear of a story that has to deal with the government oppression, something like 1984, Fahrenheit 451, something very common in science fiction is the character versus society dilemma. So this is seen in The Giver, as if you have read that one. So it's where society and the constructs of society create the conflict in the story. The final 2 we take a look at are character versus the supernatural. So Frankenstein is a good example where Dr. Frankenstein creates a monster. Okay, it's not a real being, it is supernatural, and that creates the conflict in the story. How is he going to get him back? What's he going to do to the world? And finally, the last one we'll take a look at is character versus God. So a good example is Evan Almighty, where God wants Evan to build an ark, but Evan doesn't want to, and that creates the conflict, which moves the story forward. Another type of conflict that's good to note, as it seems to be becoming more and more popular as our technology evolves, would be character versus technology. So how does technology create conflict for us as humans? How does it maybe take over at some point, and how would we overcome that? So when you're identifying conflict in short story, you want to identify what the conflict is. So what is making this main character unable to move forward? And that is our conflict. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to work on a writing exercise and writing conflict. And then we will also take a look at how to identify conflict in different pieces of text.